So Doris just needed to be close to her audience to infect them. Contagion through skin. Very disturbing.
Women die too in this war! Support the equality between men...
It is so peaceful. Good evening, Dr. Reed. A great night, what?
I may have a look at your goods, Mr. Russell.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. A great night, what?
How is the situation in this part of town?
Life is good and peaceful. We're lucky to live in such an era of progress and wonders.
Are you not concerned about the epidemic?
Oh, I'm sure the authorities would take the appropriate measure if the danger were that high.
I'm afraid the newspapers are seriously underestimating the situation. Things are critical, believe me.
Well, that's news then. But I can't believe that things are that bad. Are you sure you're not exaggerating a bit? For the thrill of it?
Is it not a little too late to be trading?
On the contrary, it is the perfect hour. Believe me, my friend, it is always at night that you meet the most fascinating characters.
But what about the epidemic? The bombs and raids? And all the random violence?
Please, sir, this is London, England. We will prevail. And if a bomb must fall on my shop, then I'll be there to hear it falling.
So you prefer to work at night?
Oh, I also enjoy a sunny day like everybody else. But the night always has a certain je ne sais quoi of its own.
What can you tell me about this place?
I recently found the best steak and kidney pie in the city. I'd be glad to share the address if you want.
Finding a good restaurant? Is that really all that interests you?
Oh, I have many passions, but nothing brings me ecstasy like subtle and exquisite flavors from my teeth to my belly.
I must confess, I have quite specific tastes when it comes to nutrition.
Really? Well, I'm always happy to try new exotic meals. If you ever find an intriguing table, please share the address.
Do you have any family nearby?
Not since my parents died. I'm London's lone gourmet.
Really? But you seem to be such a pleasant and sociable fellow.
I'm afraid the real hedonist has to be sometimes. I discovered ecstasy as a solitary pleasure, but it does not mean it can't ever be shared.
London's lone gourmet. What a strange title.
I used that name in my early years when I was a food critic, and I kept it.
Goodbye, Mr. Russell. I'm sure you'll take care of yourself.
The night is so peaceful. I understand exactly.
Have you noticed anything suspicious recently?
We meet again, Mr. Kimura, in a more peaceful situation.
Dr. Reed. Still visiting London by night?
We must both be nocturnal animals, you and I. After your captivity, I thought you'd be more cautious.
Breathing the cold night air helps calm my mind, sir. I've had the most frightening nightmares since I escaped that filthy jail.
What can you tell me about your abduction?
If you really want to know, I was locked in that building for 3 or 4 days. My jailer was insane, mumbling about sacrifice and voices.
And why didn't he sacrifice you?
That was the weirdest part. He claimed to spill blood was not enough. It had to be done when some stars were aligned.
Which stars?
That's the whole point. He wanted me to talk to him about some Red Queen configuration or constellation. I've never heard of such an astronomical term.
What did he say about voices?
He constantly whined about the voice of his master, ordering him to do terrible things. He wanted to silence the voice by offering blood. My blood.
May I ask you what you do for a living, Mr. Kimura?
I was a landlord. A wealthy one. And not a very kind one, I realized recently.
Why this sudden epiphany? Is it because of your near-death experience?
I was already feeling nostalgic about Weymouth, my hometown. With recent events, I'm thinking about going back there.
Tell me, Tadao, why was your abductor so interested in your passion for astronomy?
I dunno. We met a few times at the Royal Greenwich Observatory. He seemed to share my hobby. Then he invited me to his house and locked me in.
Yes, astronomy is a fascinating subject. When I was a child, my mother bought a small telescope for my sister and I. We spent many a pleasant evening stargazing.
Stars are not just dots in the sky, Doctor. They are the key to our understanding of the cosmos. They remind us how insignificant we are.
You're right. But children love magic and stories. I remember our mother told us constellations have the power to protect us.
Protection by the light of the stars. That's sweet. You remember the name of these constellations?
Draco. My favorite constellation.
Memory's a strange thing. I can recite without hesitation the names of the 88 constellations, yet I barely remember my own childhood.
Did he fake his interest in astronomy to get close to you?
No. In his madness, he spoke about a blood sacrifice to be made to his master when the stars aligned to a specific configuration.
How is the situation in the West End?
I've heard rumors about armed men patrolling and fighting infected citizens in these very streets. I was lucky they didn't shoot me when I was abducted.
Why are you so nostalgic for your hometown, Tadao?
I was focused so much on making money, I almost forgot that my relatives and friends are threatened by this epidemic.
Have you heard anything from your family?
I was not only a bad landlord, I was also a bad husband. I've not seen my wife and son for years. Busy, busy, busy.
At least now you're ready to go back and see them. But don't be surprised if your son bears a grudge, sir.
You make it sound like you suffered from an absent father yourself, Dr. Reed. Well, I'll keep your warning in mind.
Have you no friends at all?
Over the years, I'm afraid my greed turned me into my friend's adversary, while I became friends with my professional rivals.
Those you grew up with didn't share your views on money and success.
Would you believe I was once a member of poetry circles and an astronomy club? We were young, such joyful dreamers then, that I stopped laughing long ago.
Can you change? And is it what you really want? If so, it must come from within, not without.
I've seen what an altruistic gesture can do. Nothing forced you to save me, Dr. Reed, but you did. I will follow your example in these matters from now on.
There is no need to thank me. Rescuing a London citizen should not be out of the ordinary, though I'm afraid it may appear so in these difficult times.
You did not only rescue me, you fought for me. You put your life in danger to save me. That's quite extraordinary.
How will you cope if you're attacked again?
I don't know. I've heard about these men and women who patrol the West End every night, chasing criminals like my abductor. Maybe I should join them.
Goodbye, Mr. Kimura. Take care.
Maybe I should leave the city.
Hello? Is anyone there?
Jonathan, is that you? I did not know you were back in London. Oh, my dear Johnny, I'm so sorry for your loss. Mary was such a sweetheart.
Thank you, Venus. May I come in?
I was going to bed, actually.
I'm sure you can spare me a few minutes. For old time's sake.
Of course you may enter, Jonathan. I'm so sorry for your loss, Jonathan.
It's a pleasure to see you again, Venus.
So you returned from the war in one piece too. Thank God. My Clarence is back home too.
How is the old rascal?
Probably outside, chasing ghosts and chimeras. Clarence has changed a lot since he returned from the war, you know.
Have you noticed anything peculiar about the neighborhood recently?
You mean except for your return to town? No. Oh, and again, Jonathan. Please accept my condolences for your sister.
Thank you, Venus. It was so sudden. And I've been so busy, I haven't spoken to anyone about it.
I wish I could have assisted at the funeral, but you know, it's been so quick. And what with the epidemic in the streets?
There's no need to apologize, my dear. It's normal, considering the circumstances.
No, it's not. I am sure that Clarence has not even thought to present you his condolences. He is too busy with his penny dreadful stories.
Why is my return so surprising?
It's more an unexpected happy end than a surprise. You and Clarence, back from the war. You have no idea how hard it's been for me.
Venus, why do you worry so much about your family's reputation?
Everyone laughs at Clarence now. And they avoid me because they believe I share his insane opinions. I'm a leper in my own community.
How have you been since the last time we met? How long has it been? 3 years now?
I've done my duty, like all British women. You have no idea what it was like to wait for months without knowing if I'd still be a wife or a widow.
I understand. Luckily, this part of town has been saved from the worst of the bombings, from what I've seen.
Yes, and it's also true about the epidemic. The flu has killed here too, of course, but not on such a large scale as in other parts of town.
Tell me about Clarence's obsession with vampires.
It drives me so crazy it makes my stomach hurt. I was so relieved to have him back. But I quickly realized he'd lost his mind in France.
I understand your irritation, Venus. But you have to accept the trauma Clarence endured on the battlefield.
The question is simple, Jonathan. Is my husband mad? Yes or no? Do vampires exist? Or is Clarence a lunatic?
So you don't believe Clarence?
If poor Mary, bless her soul, had tried to convince you of the existence of bloody vampires, would you have believed her? Seriously?
The important question is, what do you really think of your husband?
I'm tough, Jonathan. He should have told me the horrors he witnessed, however appalling it was, instead of inventing a fantasy about blood-drinking monsters.
Goodbye for now.
At least you survived the Great War. I feared the worst. I remember when Mary came here with her husband and her son. They were such a beautiful family. I'm so sorry for your loss, Jonathan. You know that you are always welcome here. But at this hour of night? Great War.
It's locked. No invitation is needed to enter this building. That can't be a good sign. No sign of a struggle. It seems Charlotte's friend knew the killer and let him in. Blood. I should follow the trail. Emily wanted to become a vampire. Something must have gone wrong. Someone is responsible for this mess. But who?
Who are you? What are you doing here?
I could ask you the same question.
I'm the Marquis de Bois-Colombes, and I strongly invite you to find your own game, sir.
I'm not here to sustain myself. I'm currently investigating the death of a young woman killed by a vampire.
A young woman killed by a vampire? Oh, you're joking, right? Oh, I do love the British sense of humor.
And who exactly are you?
I am Jacques-Michel Guillaume Florimond de Marquis de Bois-Colombes, at your service, my dear cousin.
You're French, but your English is quite good.
I was born in France, sir, but I consider myself a traveler of this world. So many countries, so many tantalizing tastes.
Dear cousin, are we related?
We could be of the same blood, my dear. I tend to consider all Econs as family, don't you?
What are you doing here?
I recently decided to visit London. I've always dreamed of visiting a city on the verge of collapse. Such a delicate, yet intense spectacle.
You take pleasure from others' misery.
I have been a totally depraved and immoral creature since the day I was reborn, sir. And probably before.
What do you plan to do here?
Take pleasure. Take pictures. Enjoy the show. Have fun. Believe me, I won't be the only foreign immortal who bought a ticket to the fair.
I followed the trail of blood from her room to here.
Oh, you're referring to that young woman. Yes, the meeting turned messy. I'm afraid I ruined my last redingote.
So you admit you murdered her?
I admit nothing, my good sir. I only regret the blood of that girl staining my clothes. Oh, blood can be so messy.
What happened?
She wanted to become one of us. Not the first time I have received such a proposal, but I must admit her direct approach tempted me.
And then what?
The body rejected my blood. It happens, you know, sometimes even with voluntary prey. At least her gurglings brought me some fun, until the artery burst.
Your cruelty deserves punishment, sir.
And what else is new?
Good evening, Miss Ashbury.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed.
I have found out what happened to your friend, Emily.
I can handle the truth. There's no need to hide the bloody details.
Your friend was planning to become a vampire. She thought she'd met an honest one and made a deal with him. Unfortunately, Emily did not survive the process.
My mother told me many times about the risks of being turned. I often suspected she exaggerated the danger to avoid me being tempted.
No, the risk is real. Have you any idea what a body has to endure? To become an organism entirely consumed by its need to process and recombine blood?
I should never have talked to Emily about vampires. I never thought she'd actually try it without me. Thank you, sir. Here, take this for your discretion.
Goodbye, Charlotte. Give my best regards to your mother when you see her.
She's been quite busy these last few nights. I suspect you may see her before me.
It's locked, all right. Good evening, miss. Can I help you? I'm a doctor. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
I am Karina Billow. I don't need any doctor. The rats got the rats.
Miss, you don't seem well at all. Are you afraid of rats? Has one bitten you?
No, it's me who bites them. Tasty, juicy, disgusting rats. I can't stop eating them. Help me, please. Help me to disobey the voice.
What happened to you?
The rats. The answer hides in their little crunchy bones. Their juicy, tiny brains.
Miss Billow, please, try to concentrate. Why do you worry about rats so much?
The voice in my head. He forces me to do so. Drink their blood, he said. Eat their flesh.
Do you feel compelled to obey that voice, Miss Billow? Even if you're loath to submit to it?
Yes. Please. Help.
Tell me about the voice in your head. Who is it? Can you describe it? Is it someone you know? Someone you met?
Keep your mouth shut, he said. Don't ever speak about me, or I'll abandon you. Help me, please, Doctor.
Tell me about yourself, Miss Billow. What do you do for a living?
Oh, I'm hungry. Need to eat. Have you got something for me? Blood, perhaps? Can you give me blood, Dr. Reed?
Don't you remember who you are, miss? What you did for work?
I was strong, proud. I campaigned for good causes. But that was before. Before. It does not matter anymore. I'm so hungry.
What is the local news hereabouts, Miss Billow?
Shadows. Shadows hunting shadows. Whispers in the dark. Pestilence. Suffering. Death.
I must go now. Goodbye, Miss Billow.
You made me sick, you juicy, warm treat. Damn it! Oh my! What have we got here? A dead rat. Oh, so gross. So tempting. Eternal life. Through the blood of the lesser beasts, he said. Oh, dear God, help me. Save me, for I can't stand what I've become. rats. Those clever rodents are cautious now. They won't approach.
Why do you eat rats, Karina?
Their flesh contains the path to immortality. I have to eat them all if I want to live. Help me. Please. Make it stop.
I don't know if I can, miss. You have been tricked, forced to play a disgusting game. I don't know how to save you.
Kill me then, Doctor. Take my life. I beg you.
I can't do that, Miss Billow. I'm a doctor. I won't kill as an answer to pain or suffering. Never again.
It is my decision. If I could, I'd do it myself. You're a doctor, but also a vampire, aren't you? Kill me, please. Make it stop.
I must go now. Goodbye, Miss Billow.
Rats. Those clever rodents are cautious now. They won't approach.
Tell me about vampires, Karina. You must have met one recently.
He promised he would help me, give me immortality, make me escape this world of death. He promised.
Who is he? How did you meet him?
I can't tell you, Doctor. He won't let me.
Karina, I order you to reveal to me the name of the vampire who took control of your will. Speak their name.
Don't you dare interfere with my game, Ekon. Go find yourself your own toy and let me play with mine.
Who are you? Reveal yourself. Let this woman be.
Why? What would be the fun in that? It's so amusing to see her defile herself, one bite at a time.
This vampire is as powerful as he is wicked.
Help me, please, Dr. Reed. Help me.
Tell me what really happened to you, Karina.
He was so handsome, so charming. He asked if I'd obey him in every way. I said yes. And then he...
He tricked you?
Yes. He has promised me eternal life. And now I must eat these rodents for attaining it. But of course, it's a lie.
I must go now. Goodbye, Miss Billow. Good evening, old chap. Are you all right?
I won't lie to you, Johnny. I'm not a well man.
Do you realize you are ruining your family, Clarence? Don't you see the risk here?
Money isn't important. Not important when it is a matter of life and death. That is what my dear Venus cannot understand.
People will laugh at you, if they don't already. Think about your wife and your position. Think about your future.
I understand my wife's embarrassment, but gossips don't kill, vampires do. There'll be no future if people don't open their eyes.
I can't believe I'm telling you this, but if warning people is that important to you, why not choose a more efficient way to spend your money?
Don't you think I tried? I knocked at every door, went to every bank, I even tried to be published. No, Jonathan. This is a one-man war.
You need some rest, Clarence. You should try to sleep.
Support the equality between men and women. Women's right to vote is only the first step.
I'm sure Kaloon Russell has no interest in such a conventional menu. A restaurant where the guests are blindfolded before being seated. Intriguing. More Braille. I should bring this to Mason Swanborough. I cannot enter. Maybe there's a way to break into this house. This is despicable. I have this thirst for blood.
Your prey is mine now!
I had almost forgotten I applied for a position at Pembroke. It was so long ago. I can't believe I'm doing this. There has been a fight here. I can see a blood trail. Left by one of the antagonists, perhaps? What a mess. Something terrible happened here. But what? I have this thirst for blood. This is despicable. I have this thirst for blood.
Women's right to vote is only the first step.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. A great night, what?
I have found a restaurant that could satisfy you, Mr. Russell. The most intriguing and exotic restaurant in London.
Really? You have piqued my interest. Where is it?
It's a place where you eat in complete darkness and try to identify your meal without anything but your palate.
My, oh my, how interesting. It could even be fun to eat a little poisson et frites that way. Oh, thank you, Dr. Reed. Please, have this for your research.
Goodbye, Mr. Russell. I'm sure you'll take care of yourself.
Equality between men and women.
Don't let any strangers come into your house. Have you noticed anything?
When science fails you, this elixir will give you faith again.
Maybe it's time to see if this Christina is still working nearby.
Please, I don't have your money.
Come on.
Fancy buying something, sir?
You never lose your focus, do you? How are the current conditions in Whitechapel?
When there's more people outside at night than during the day, then you've got to start to worry.
Do you need help, sir?
To be honest, I'd prefer you take a look at my stuff. I'd rather be rich and sick than the contrary.
I don't quite agree, but I won't argue with you. Please, take this. You'll feel better.
Really? Free? Don't take it personally, but charity usually comes at a price. Human nature being what it is.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Lewis.
You again? What do you want this time?
How is the sanitary situation in Whitechapel?
I'm not easily scared, but crazy killers and armed patrols are lurking about. My son's right about this place.
Can I offer you my medical expertise, Mr. Peterson?
Keep your medicines for others.
There is a thin line between pride and stupidity, sir. Please, take this medication. You'll feel better.
All right. I'll take it then. It's not like I don't appreciate the gesture.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson. Good evening, Mr. Whitaker.
It's Father Whitaker, my son. So, are you still lost in your rational delusions?
Don't you fear getting sick yourself?
Faith gives me all I need, my son. If I must fall, then so be it.
No doubt your faith will prevail, but let me give you some extra protection against the devil's work. Medicine.
Blessed be your generosity, my son.
I have heard enough for tonight. Goodbye. Hello again, miss. Hello, Camellia. How are you, partner? Come on, girl. Smile. Don't you know Dorothy and I have an agreement? We're on the same side. No? All right then, as you wish. Very well. Goodbye then.
You're feeble! Are you from Ascalon? I don't care! This is my territory!
I've heard so many bad things recently, I'm almost glad I cannot see them.
Good evening, Mr. Swanborough.
Is it you, Dr. Reed? Please come in.
Wandering in this part of town at night, you're either brave or a fool.
What can I do for you, Doctor?
Your sister seems to believe this miracle elixir business is somehow doing you good.
Loretta believes that keeping busy is what I need to be happy.
And is she wrong?
My sister is wrong about almost everything. But as long as she thinks she's in charge, she can be nice.
Here is another page of the diary we were talking about.
Ah, now we're talking. Ingredients, dosages, dangers, and side effects. This is it.
Is the diary complete now?
No. The author tested his work in a hidden laboratory. We must find out where it was. Please, find me more pages, Doctor.
Goodbye, Mr. Swanborough. I'll leave you now.
Tell me, how do you see the world these days?
I can't believe I'm doing this.
Watch it! It's a killer!
I have this thirst for blood.
Back in the
More Braille. I should bring this to Mason Swanborough. It's locked. It's locked, all right. I can't believe I'm doing this. It's locked.
Leech spotted! What's over there? One of them vermin!
Good evening, Mr. Swanborough.
Is it you, Dr. Reed? Please come in. Tell me, how do you see the world these days? What can I do for you, Doctor?
Here is another page of the formula for the cure for blindness.
Give it to me? Yes. Brilliant. I'm going to give you the location and the code you will need to find the cure, but you have to listen to me first.
Why? What is it?
If you find the proof that this treatment for blindness is real, I want to try it. Do you understand? No matter the risks.
Risks? What have you read in these pages that you're not telling me?
You already know what you need to know. I trust you, Dr. Reed. We share the same passion for science. Please bring back the formula.
Goodbye, Mr. Swanborough. I'll leave you now.
Tell me, how do you see the world these days?
Despicable.
so many bad things recently, I'm almost glad I cannot see them.
Good evening, Mr. Swanborough.
Is it you, Dr. Reed? Please come in.
What kind of gentleman pays visits to people at this late hour?
What can I do for you, Doctor?
I have found the secret laboratory, and I have the formula.
And the author of the diary, did you meet him?
Yes. He was badly disfigured. Nothing more than a beast. And I cannot guarantee it wasn't connected to his experiments.
I don't care. Give me the formula, Doctor.
Here it is. But please, be very careful. You're entering uncharted territories here.
This is what science has always been about, Dr. Reed. Thank you so much.
I can't say it's been a pleasure, but we're both scientists, and I am grateful you asked me to undertake this search for you.
I have something for you, then. It is the most precious thing I have to give. Even more important than the Swanborough secret recipe.
There is really no need for payment.
Please have it, Dr. Reed, I insist. I'm sure you'll find it more useful than I would.
Goodbye, Mr. Swanborough. I'll leave you now.
What kind of gentleman pays visits to people at this late hour?
What news, Jonathan? I've heard you've now joined the vampire elite of London.
Did Elizabeth tell you?
So it's Elizabeth now. My. Things are moving quickly. I turn my back for a moment and away you go.
How's the situation at the Pembroke?
We're still holding out. Question is, for how long? What we really need is hope, Jonathan. Hope for a better tomorrow.
Have you seen Lady Ashbury recently?
Yes, she popped in yesterday. Told me about your new friends in the West End.
Just a courtesy visit, then?
Yes. And no. She was en route to the docks, I think, following a lead concerning your maker.
I may have found the source of the contagion. Doris Fletcher, the actress. Thankfully, in the end, she was destroyed by fire.
Really? Oh, please, do tell me more.
Doris was a heavily mutated skull. Almost a new breed entirely. It's as if the disease had completely altered her mind and body. Highly contagious.
As if the disease had taken control of her will?
Yes. Once a beautiful and brilliant woman, she became motivated by hate alone.
Oh, she was a beauty. I met her when she visited the hospital to cheer up the sick. Too bad the fire destroyed her. But it was probably for the best.
Have you heard of similar cases?
No, I don't think so. Except, perhaps, it reminds me of an old report from the Brotherhood. Well, more an article, really.
What was it about?
The author, a friar, referred to a rare form of contagion in a skull he observed during the Black Death. The carrier was always female. They called them Icors.
I'll come back later. Thank you, Edgar.
Always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Southwark. My departure for France as a promising student. My return as a brilliant surgeon, about to be killed. Transformed.